Well met, friends. This is this week's episode of Ghost Emoji with me, Taylor, and my best good friend, my co-host, Becca.
That's me.
That's you. And this one is fun because we are finally, one of the big things that we really like is video games. And we haven't actually done a video game review yet. And so earlier this week, I finally bought Oxenfree, which I've been meaning to do for a long time because it did come out last year. So it's not a new game, but it is a good game and it's a spooky game. And so we figured we played it together and now we're gonna talk about it. We played it on PS4, but it's also available, I guess, is it on Xbox One? And it's on Steam too, I think. It was originally PC, but when I bought it, it was like new and improved, coming to PS4. Oxenfree.
Yeah, because I had watched, when it first came out, I watched Stacy and Mari play the beginning of it, but I didn't finish their playthrough because I was like, I kind of want to play it myself, but I ended up just watching you play it through my through my PS4, which was fine because, it was interactive.
Yeah,
it was really fun.
And it's a pretty short game, which I would say that's kind of like, I feel like me and Becca, a lot of the games we like are sometimes kind of long. And so it was sort of nice to have a game being like, oh, this isn't like 60 to 100 hours of play. Yeah, I'll take something that's like, 4 to 6 hours. Just kind of running through. And it also has, like, I think some pretty good replay value. Like, it's not a ton of stuff, but it's also very short. So it's just, I wasn't going to say, like, a nice, relaxing game, but
no,
it's one I feel like you could go back to without a whole lot of commitment. So if you've been thinking about playing it, it's very good. I really enjoyed it, and I've been thinking about it a lot since, I think, was it Wednesday that we played it?
Yeah, it was your work from home day.
Yeah, and it is now Friday. And I was working very hard while I played it.
Yeah, you stopped a bunch of times to answer emails and stuff. It's not like you weren't doing things.
Becca was there. But that just shows that you could still, like, jump in and out and stuff. But anyway, so...
Oh, and it's not like a game that I would say it requires, someone who has played games before. Like, if you've never played a video game, but you're like, oh, it seems kind of cool to, like, play a sort of, it's not, you don't have to shoot anything, you don't have to be good at aiming. I think there's like some mild puzzle solving, but even that's not like, it's pretty low key on the like requirements for having played video games before.
Yeah, it's a lot of like exploration, and the controls are pretty easy and intuitive, and I think the only part that would maybe be a little confusing, and wasn't confusing for us, but was a little frustrating, was the dialogue system. Because you get to make choices, but I'm used to games like, Mass Effect or Witcher or something where you can pick different responses, but you kind of have a chance to, like, think about it. There's not always, like, BioWare games and The Witcher both had times where, like, you would have to make a decision, like, kind of a snap decision sort of thing, but in this one, like, every dialogue choice, if you don't pick them within like 2 or 3 seconds, they kind of start to fade out, and if you don't pick them, they just disappear. And sometimes there was only a couple times where it happened on like important decisions, and so I think it just kind of takes you down the default like canon way, I guess, that the game is supposed to go, because there are multiple endings and a lot of different stuff that you can have happen in the playthrough. But I don't know, it was really good. I think we got probably the most generic ending.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, didn't feel bad. It kind of makes you feel like you didn't do anything terribly wrong, I guess. Which, obviously, like, we're gonna spoil things in the game, so if you are planning on playing it, then I would say stop here and then come back in 4 to 6 hours after you've played it.
Yes.
But our end choices, like, I think there was, like, 3 big things, and ours were, we bonded with Jonas, who's, like, your new stepbrother, we got Ren and Nona together, and we made up with Clarissa, and all of those were, like, the biggest parts of the pie chart.
Yep.
But I feel like they were all all pretty good. I think the only way would have been perfect is if we had been able to save Mike.
Yeah, but I mean, I didn't even realize that was an option until afterwards when I was reading.
No, there's a lot of things you can do. What was your favorite part of the game? Like, when you think back on it, the part that you liked the most?
I think I liked all of the parts where the dead, were they sailors?
They were, like, captains on the, or, like, crewmen and women on the submarine.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I just thought they were really creepy, and it was really interesting anytime they would, like, talk or say something. But I also really enjoyed, like, in a less, creepy tone, I really enjoyed all the times that you got to spend seeing what Michael was like, because throughout the game they talk about him, and for the first half I feel you don't really like know what he's like, and you're kind of like what, he's this big important person to both you, and you find out he was important to Clarissa because she was dating him. Michael's your brother in the game, and he's died, and so you hear about him but not like much, and then getting to actually like interact with him and sort of make choices and talk to him, you see like why she loved him so much and why they had this like close relationship, and it makes it was more effective when you felt the loss, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You would come back and you'd be like, God, that's so sad that she doesn't have him anymore, like in her life, and
yeah,
they can't talk.
Well, especially because before you really get to have like the little flashbacks and see them interact, the things they say about him, they aren't like mean or anything, but they talk about him being like captain of the whatever team, and like, kind of like a jock, popular guy at school, and Clarissa's the same way. And so I guess a lot of times when you think of that kind of stereotype, it's not that they're inherently bad, it just is kind of bland to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know why that wouldn't be, considering like my youngest sister Kennedy is like super popular, beautiful, smart president or vice president of like every club she comes across kind of thing. And I'm like, and she's still totally rad and nice and kind. And so it's, I don't know, that kind of I related to on that. Like, even though Kennedy's my younger sister, but having a sibling that's very like accomplished, and maybe other people sometimes kind of see them as like maybe unapproachable or like too good, but at the same time it's like that's your sibling, and so you know them more as like a person.
Yeah.
So, and it was nice because you also got to see Clarissa being nice, because boy howdy is she mean for like most of the game. And I didn't like that part so much. Like, I guess it made sense because like I feel like it was kind of showing two different ways to grieve, because you've got Alex who's like maybe trying to move past it, and really honestly I guess they don't even really show how she's dealing with it. She's just kind of not blasé about it, but you can tell she's sad, but she's not like outwardly angry or like visibly sad most of the time. But Clarissa, anytime it comes up, is just like, there's no point to anything, the universe doesn't care about you, this is your fault, blah blah blah. Like, very they made her very unlikable, and I didn't like that, because I just didn't feel like it was not necessarily unrealistic, but it felt bad that like one of the other main girl characters just off the bat hates you, and I feel like that makes you kind of root against her. I don't like that, because she was also in pain, and she had, legitimate reasons to be upset, even if she was taking it out on the wrong person.
Yeah, it was frustrating, and it was just sort of one of those things where, like, I'm glad that they gave you the opportunity to make up with her, but at the same time, it felt very petty. Mm-hmm. And even though it's not over something petty, but the way she was handling it was very petty.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I think the thing that made me the maddest was I was just like, do you think that if he could, like, if heaven or the great beyond or whatever exists, if he could see, like, what you're treating his little sister like, do you think he would be happy? Like, and the other thing is the fact that she was so nice in some of the flashbacks, but then she could be so cruel in the, present. I was like, this meanness is innately inside of her. Like, it's not like she just became mean because of this. Like, mm-hmm. She had the potential to be this way. And so it just made me upset, because I was like, I don't feel like that's, I don't know. I just feel like mean people don't normally masquerade as being, I don't know. It just made me sad because I was also sort of like, why is he with her? Like, obviously she is actually kind of not a very nice person, even though she can act like it. I don't know.
Well, that's where I feel like we, during the one part, there's a section where you can either go back to, like, the town with either your stepbrother Jonas, who you kind of default to for the beginning part of the game, Ren, who is like your childhood friend that's there with you and he's kind of goofy, or Nona, who is, Ren has a crush on her, and she's the one who brought Clarissa. Because obviously, since Clarissa doesn't really like anyone, it doesn't make sense why she's there on this island with you. But she's there. And Nona, if I wanted to pick her to go because the two guys are fighting and being kind of annoying, but I didn't hit it fast enough, and so it defaulted and made me take Jonas, which was fine. He kind of grew on me, but sometimes he was a little silly. But Nona, when you take her down, and she's really worried because at a certain point in the game, Clarissa is basically, like, possessed by these ghosts, these, like, interdimensional ghosts, and is gone for a good chunk of the game. Like, she's there, but she's the ghost. She's not Clarissa. And so Nona's really worried about her, and I feel like Nona was kind of just there to, like, justify that Clarissa is a nice person, or can be, because she talks about how they had a friend who was in a car accident on Nona's birthday, and so Nona was like, we blew off my birthday plans because obviously our friend was hurt, and so we had to go visit her. But when it was all said and done, she said that Clarissa, like, showed up with a cake, and they watched all of her favorite movies all night to just kind of, like, to make her birthday still special. And I guess her birthday is, like, coming up when this is all happening, and she's just like, I'm really scared that Clarissa's not going to be there, and, like, she's my best friend, and I'm worried about her. But if you don't take Nona, I mean, all you really have is the flashbacks and then her being a jerk.
Yeah, I wish we'd gotten to see that, because otherwise I was just like, I don't get it. I was like, why? How does she have friends if she treats people like this just because she's hurting? Like, I understand that people grieve differently, but, like, it doesn't excuse being cruel to people who have lost the same person for no reason. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I wish that we had a better idea, I guess, of everyone's ages. Because at one point I thought they said something about it being the junior class of whatever high school. But then I read something else that said they were sophomores. But if they were sophomores and Michael was a senior, and I guess the age difference isn't too big, but I couldn't tell. I got the idea that Ren and Nona were the same age as Alex, but I thought that maybe Clarissa was older since she was dating Mike or something. Because, like, there's a lot of talk about, like, colleges and going to school and prom and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, it's later high school, but the timeline just kind of didn't make sense, because also the whole reason Jonas is there is because, your brother, you're playing as Alex, so I say our brother, the person that you're playing, has died, and your parents get divorced because, like, it basically tears your family apart. And then your mom remarries to a man who's Jonas's dad. But Jonas's mom has also passed away, and they said that they met on, like, a cruise. And so I'm just like, how long ago did both of these people die? Like, not to say that, I guess, there's nothing wrong with dating/marrying, I guess, soon after, like, death or divorce. But it all just, the timeline was a little bit squished.
Yeah. It made it sound like... I agree, though. It's a little confusing, because I thought it was a year, and then I started thinking about it, and I was like, I mean, for them to have met and gotten married and whatever, I was like, that's, like, a very short amount of time, which, not to say, like, that can't happen, especially if you're having trouble because you feel very, like, there's some sort of resentment or something, but at the same time, I was sort of like, it's mostly just, like, going on a cruise and this and that. I don't know, it's just like you said, the timeline is a little squished, so I was like, I mean, I could see if it was over the course of 2 years, definitely, but a year, I was like, a year goes by real fast.
That could also explain why, like, when you're going to this, like, overnight beach party that goes so bad, why that's kind of like the first time I guess you're ever hanging out with your new stepbrother, even though
That's true.
he is like just moved into your house. He literally says that he just got in that morning and then got on a ferry to go with you to this thing.
Lord.
But I don't know. I just really liked, like the characters were really interesting. I was reading that I guess Alex, the main character, was supposed to be kind of inspired by like Lindsay Weir, which like I kind of got with like the jacket and stuff like that. But I say I liked it. Oh, did I like it? The fact that like you get choices that you can make about like your dialogue and stuff like that, but I feel like Alex still inherently had like a set personality.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Which was interesting because then it kind of different ways to respond, but still ultimately kind of getting similar responses and stuff like that. But it was also kind of nice just because then you felt like you had control, but it still made it to where, I guess, like the choices you make, people's reactions don't seem so off.
Yeah.
Instead of just being sort of a self-insert character.
I also liked all of the voice acting. I thought it was all really good.
Yeah, my only thing was just that the guys especially sounded way too old.
Yeah, they did sound too old.
Like the voice acting was not bad. It was just like, if you're supposed to be like a junior, even possibly a senior, like you've been held back 10 years.
You're a 30-year-old man.
Sorry to say, you are an old man. You are a super senior.
You can't trick me. I mean, the way they delivered the lines, definitely for Ren, sounded very young. So I got that. But the voices, I was just like, I don't know, man. You sound...
Yeah. And I really liked, I thought for the most part, the dialogue was really pretty well done, because sometimes you get these teenager games and you get kind of a Life is Strange, like Meet Me in the Pit, Shaka Bra, and Hellas everywhere.
Oh my god, the Shaka Bras. Like, I felt bad because I was just like,
what does that even mean?
Some of this stuff hasn't been relevant since I was in high school. And I was like, I was in high school a fucking long time ago. So playing Life is Strange, like, as much as I loved it, a lot of the time they'd say stuff and I'd be like, are we... For the longest time when we were playing it, or when I was playing it, I thought maybe it was taking place in, like, 2006 or, like, 2008. And then I realized that it was 2013 or 14 or whatever. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, it was...
Okay.
It was pretty rough. For so much of that game that's good, the dialogue can really take you out of it sometimes. And I don't know why... Messing with stuff like that is so difficult, because it ages out so quickly, especially when you pick stuff that's like very niche and like memey. God, I'm trying to even remember some of them because they've honestly slipped out of my brain, like not just for Life is Strange, but just in general. Although I do feel like I've started saying hella a lot again, and I have to stop myself.
Chloe, she gets you.
She gets into your brain. Also, kind of the thing when one of your loved ones dies is to dye your hair blue.
Guess so.
Because Chloe dyed her hair blue, even though she was like a brunette. Same thing in this game. In all the flashbacks, Alex has brown hair. But in the present, you've got cool blue hair.
Coraline dyed her hair blue, but it wasn't because someone died. I think it's because they moved and she was mourning the loss of her friends.
Aww.
I guess it is a weird, like... quirky girl trope. You move away, someone dies, you dye that hair blue. You dye it blue.
What did you think of the fact that, like, the ghosts being not traditional ghosts? Because I loved the whole, like, alternate dimension nuclear submarine explosion trap ghost thing, because I love a good ghost story, but sometimes it gets really old, and this one was one that I feel like I hadn't seen before.
Yeah, I didn't expect it, and I liked that they were like a collective, and they spoke as a collective, and basically, it's like, we've been down here so long, we're no longer like individuals and stuff. Mm-hmm. We just collectively want to get the fuck out of here.
What do they even want to do once they're out?
I don't know. Eat a hamburger.
I would probably. I would lure people to a scary island and possess their body if I hadn't eaten a cheeseburger since 1943.
Yep. Fried pickles. Like, can you imagine all the cool things they're gonna come out and be like, holy shit, they have a thing for that?
But would they have all just crammed into one body, or would, like, one take it and then, like, steer more people that way? Or had they even thought that far? I think they honestly just wanted to escape, because if I had been trapped in a loop, I guess the whole loop thing, it's really interesting to me, but it's also sometimes hard to, like, wrap your brain around, because are they looping just that one day? Like, when Alex is talking at the end and you discover that you're still in the loop, she's talking about stuff that's, you know, kind of happened throughout, like, following months, like, you know, what schools they go to and who's dating and all this other stuff. And I'm like, does she loop all of that and then come back around? Or is that just in her brain? Or, you know, how is it for the guys on the submarine? Because they talk about seeing, like, the universe die several times. And I'm like, do you mean your universe? Like, the place where you live in this one day? Or do you mean, like, you've seen the death of the universe over and over again? Because that would make me hella crazy.
My guess is it's that second one, because, I mean, I remember they at some point talk about, like, you know, how they're beyond caring anymore. They're like, you know, we used to be nice people, but we don't care anymore. And I was like, I'd have to see some shit for me to be like, fuck you, taking your body, I'm out.
But then but they still care about escaping. They guess they just don't care about, like, what means they take it.
Mm-hmm.
That dang old radio.
Their moral high ground has plummeted, essentially.
Do you think it was the same people in a loop, or do you think it was, like, each time, like, an alternate reality kind of thing? Because there's one ending that you can only get after, I think, playing it a couple of times, where when you get to, like, the machine right outside the door to the little cave entrance at the very, very end, and you can actually send a message to, like, another version of yourself.
Oh, wow.
Saying not to come to the island, and that's supposed to be, I guess, like, the good ending. Or not there's so many different endings, but I guess that's one of them, where it shows Alex, Ren, and Jonas are hanging out in a parking lot, and they're waiting for someone to come pick them up, and they're like, turn on the radio, and if it's music, then we'll wait, like, 10 more minutes, and if it's, like, talk radio or static or something, I can't remember what Ren says, he's like, then we'll just blow it off. And while you're scanning around, you come across yourself being like, Alex, don't come to Edward's Island.
Oh, it's so eerie.
And they all get kind of freaked out and leave. And so I'm like, so dang. Does that version, like, get to actually survive?
I guess so.
Because that's, like, after the post-credits kind of thing, I think.
Wow. Because
otherwise, all of them just come to the end when you're kind of doing the little epilogue, and then it sort of frazzles out for a second, and you're like, oh shit, we're still here.
Yep.
Which I feel like you have to know is coming, because it's just too good, where you're like, did we win? Did we get out?
Well, that, and, like, you pass out, and then you wake up and you're on the ship, and they're like, oh, we're let's get out of here, and they don't even seem that phased, or like, that was really hard, how we had to drag you, and you know, we had to fight them off, and blah, 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 and it's like, no, they don't talk about any of that. And so when that happened, I was like, we are gonna loop, or we're imagining this happening, and they've already taken our body, or I don't know, there were so many things running through my mind. And then when she started doing the epilogue, I was like, I guess you really actually get off. And then when she was like, man, I'm so bummed that we're going to this thing, and I don't wanna, and I was like, oh no. Oh no.
Ugh. So, but that also kind of made me think of Life is Strange, just, like, each time, like, there's a loop, and you feel like you're just going back, or, like, trying to get it right kind of thing. But I got the feeling that it's actually, like, each time you are jumping into, like a alternate reality, like a parallel universe where that's happening. So even if you, like, leave this message, like, each time you have a chance to save another one, but you are, like, stuck in that one forever. because I saw someone talking about that in Life is Strange, where they were like, you know, it looks like she's rewinding, but do you think it's possible? Because, yeah, at the end, aren't they talking about how they're like, you go back in time and you do this stuff and you don't care about what happens after you, like, jump back forward or whatever.
Yep.
Like, each time you're going back and changing something, and if you don't like it, you just leave. But there's the Max in that reality who then has to live with what you've done.
Yep.
Kind of thing. And so I'm just like, oh, that just... Stuff like that real messes me up. Have you ever watched a playthrough or played Soma? It's not a feel-good game. But, spoilers for Soma. Becky, you don't care about spoilers, right?
Nope.
It's a similar kind of thing. You're in some kind of, like, accident, and your brain has been, like, basically saved onto a computer, and you wake up in the future, and you are actually in a robot, and you don't realize it at first. You think you're a person, and then you realize you're a robot. And throughout the game, there are times where you have to transfer your, like, personality and mind and stuff, like your ghost, essentially, to other machines. And the first time it happens, you're like, oh, well, I thought I just jumped to this. And then you turn and you see, like, your old body is still there, just kind of, like, powered down. But they're like, no, we're just copying you to this one. So, like, you have a chance to survive, but your body you were just in with your, you know, backup or whatever is fucked.
Yeah.
And that's the very, very end of the game. It's all about, like, because the world has been, like, destroyed by a meteor, and you're basically, like, there's no one left on Earth. There's just these backups of people's brain, and you're trying to get them into a computer program that you're going to launch into space, so that people can basically live in, like, a simulation, because that's the only way they're gonna survive. And I'm using survives kind of as quotes, just because it's complicated and we're not here to talk about that one. But
yeah.
When it's happening, like, stuff is, like, falling, and the ship or whatever you're on is, like, under a lot of stress, and you're trying to, like, upload your brain, and it's like this big moment of building up to being like, oh god, are we gonna make it? Am I gonna upload in time? And then it uploads, and you're like, what happened? And you have, like, a computer companion that's been helping you, that's another memory person, and they're like, we're up on the ark, you know, we're up on the satellite, we did it. And he's like, but what about us? And she's like, we've been doing this the whole game, like, we're still here, but this is the only way for them to have a chance. And he's just like, but I did all that so I could get to space, like, so I could escape. And she's like, that wasn't how it was gonna work. And it feels so bad.
Jeez.
So that's kind of how this makes me feel whenever it's like, well, I'll do it so someone else can get by. And even, like, if it's an interesting ending, it always just, I feel bad, and it's not because it's a bad game, it's just a bad feeling, because you know this character that you've gotten kind of attached to and you wanted to make it is trapped in this loop forever. Like, it just sucks. And I think that's why, like, some of the reviews I read were kind of like, at the end I just felt, like, super unsatisfied and unhappy, and, like, why did I do all this? And I'm like, yeah, I get that, but at the same time I really enjoyed it, and, like, that's just kind of, that's the game.
Yeah. That makes me think of those, there's, like, a Doctor Who episode where it's these, they're, like, miners or something, I can't remember, but basically they handle this really dangerous stuff, and one of them dies, and then a clone of them wakes up, and it's like, you know, the last memory they had, they you know, that's where they start from. But when you really think about it, it's like, there are so many versions of them that have died. Like, the original version of them is dead. They're just gone. And whatever version of them exists now is carrying on the memories of all of those that have died before, but it's a totally different person. Like, it's the same personality, different vessels. So even if we were to figure out how to, like, upload our personalities into computers or whatever, like, we would still die, but our, like, consciousness, we wouldn't have control over it, but our consciousness would continue to go on. Mm-hmm. And so it's this weird feeling of, like, you think that you're gonna, it's just, immortality doesn't exist, even, like, in these, like, sci-fi ways that they've come up with. It's like, yeah, technically you keep living, but not really.
Mm-hmm. It's a weird, not weird concept, but it's a lot to unpack.
It's very dark, honestly.
That's one of the alternate endings, is the leaving the message for yourself. And that's like a new game plus type thing. You have, I don't know if you can get it on your second try, but pretty much like at the end of each one, it's like continue timeline, which we didn't get to because I jumped out after the credits, but I saw it when I was looking up stuff and trying to see what the other endings could be. You can leave Clarissa in the void.
Fucked up.
Which is, I mean, I don't even think it does anything, because like, if it will let you go if you leave Clarissa, but if you leave her and you wake up on the ship with everybody, you know, on the ferry headed away from the island, one, like, none of them remember her except for you, but the same kind of thing happens at the end of the playthrough, where it kind of statics out and then you think you're going back, so they didn't really let you go.
Nope.
Which, I mean, they're ghosts with no moral compass, so what were you expecting? You can save Michael, and either Jonas will no longer be there because you don't need a stepbrother because you already have a brother, or you can have him and Jonas will still be there, but he'll be Ren's friend that Ren brought.
Oh, weird.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer that. I mean, I guess I don't, because I don't want him to be stuck in the loop. But at the same time, like, I liked Jonas. I don't know.
Not to say that, like, the fact that he's not her real brother makes him, like, a less legitimate character, but I just think if she could have one or the other, she would probably want Michael. But if you can have Michael, but also have Jonas, like, it can still say that you bonded. Like, one of the endings say that you refer to him as your other brother. You just don't say it to his face, because you still have all those memories of bonding and everything. Mm-hmm. So you still have, like, warm feelings for him.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely, I mean, I preferred Michael just from the brief interactions we had with him. Not that Jonas wasn't nice, but Michael was nicer. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you have all that history and stuff, but that's cool that he can be there and be Ren's friend, because I liked Jonas. I
don't know why it felt so counterintuitive, because the only way to save Michael is you have these kind of like little flashbacks when I guess you were being possessed, and I guess maybe that's a way they make you complacent, they being the ghosts. They like hop in your body and do whatever, and during that I guess you see something that's important to you, and while you're there you can talk to Michael, and he talks about like wanting to like leave town or go to school somewhere else instead of staying where y'all live. And, you know, my thought was like, yeah, like, I'm gonna encourage him to leave and to go do whatever, because even though it's scary, like, it can be really rewarding, and if not, he can always come home. But of course, that's the way he died, is he was going away and y'all were having like a, you know, goodbye hangout and went swimming, and he drowns. So I guess I didn't really think about that. It felt bad that the only way you can have him stay is to tell him to like basically like stifle his dreams and, you know, stay home. But then of course, I mean, if he lives, he can always like take a year off, I guess, and then go to school later, and you'll know to never go swimming again.
Yeah, that's when you texted me, you were like, but I feel bad stifling his dreams, and I was like, yeah, but he's alive. He can always do those things later. I mean,
but is he even like, really alive? Because I think he's still in the loop.
I mean, well, if you can save Michael and then tell yourself never to go, then I imagine.
Well, that one the one where you tell yourself, Jonas is your stepbrother. So even though it doesn't really say anything directly about Michael in it, I'm assuming he has to be dead if you have a new stepbrother.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. Because at first I was like, maybe he's just Jonas's friend, but you say something and Ren's like, Jonas, you know, like, how cool your new stepsister is, or something like that, and you're like, oh, sorry, Jonas. I'm just, you know, you're my stepbrother, but I kind of want my old brother back.
Yeah. The
music is really good.
Yeah.
The music is, like, kind of spooky synth, like, just very, I don't know if relaxing is the right word, but, like, it's kind of comfy, except for the ones that are, I think, supposed to be a little bit unnerving, but it was just really nice. Like, the whole, like, overall feeling of it, like, it had really pretty kind of, like, I wouldn't call them watercolor backgrounds, but they were, like, just illustrated, and honestly, like, I was a little put off at first, like, when I saw trailers for it, for just kind of the style of the game, because, you know, when you're running around, you're playing this kind of small model. Like, it's not first person, it's not third person. Like,
it's a side scroller, yeah.
I honestly was kind of like, how's it going to be scary when the models are so small? Like, I can't see how scary stuff is, but they did a surprisingly good job. I mean, just with like, you know, like the color schemes of it, like whenever you would kind of get stuck in a loop, they do like sort of like staticky, scary music, and honestly, even if they weren't super detailed, like sometimes you'd go in a loop and something would be moved, or someone you had just been talking to would be like up in like the corner of the screen, but kind of like slumped over and with like scary eyes, or
yep,
mumbling and having, I don't know, especially because since Becca was watching it over my PS4 like share play, I had my headphones on, which I normally don't play games with headphones on. I usually just use my TV, but having like all of like the mumbling and the like scary kind of radio static like right in my ears really helped kind of get me in there.
Yeah, it was scary because I was listening on headphones too, and it's just like you could really hear the because they would like mumble to themselves, but it sounded kind of like there was static going, but also that it was almost backwards, like they were mumbling backwards when they were possessed, which was really spooky.
I wouldn't be surprised because there was a lot of stuff that like I missed and just looked up later because I don't know Morse code and stuff like that. Like the big mechanic in this game is you have like a little kind of, is it a shortwave radio, or it's like a simple kind of old school radio, but you walk around and you basically tune it, and depending on what frequency you're on, you can pick up like weird like frequency anomalies, and you'll get like little recordings and stuff like that, or you would use it to like break people out of these like possession things. And it was really satisfying when you're playing it because like your controller starts kind of vibrating, at least if you're playing it like with something with like a rumble pack on it. But just the rumbling and like the noise, kind of like the pitch would go up, and it was just, it felt good. I wanted to find all the little anomalies, even though I don't think they actually did anything like in game. But there was a alternate reality game, which I was not aware of, that like if you took all of those, the frequencies, or 10 out of 12 of them, and all of them had a call sign, and if you took the number and put them in order, it would give you a phone number, which was 91 Oxenfree or 916-936-3733. And when you would call it, it played, I think, like the opening theme, but it had like a Morse code beep in it that would spell out Maggie.
Oh, weird.
Who's the name of like an old lady who lived on the island, who was actually the person who gave out an incorrect signal, which blows up this submarine that had like a nuclear reactor type experimental thing on it, which is what tears open this like rift in time and space and traps these miners in like an alternate dimension, and you open it with this radio and it's all just shitty from there.
Yep.
But there's just a lot of stuff. But yeah, I guess if you call that number, and then like the messages kept changing, and eventually it ended up pointing people, there was a website that was like edwardsisland.com, which someone made from like taking a bunch of the letters that it was sending out in like Morse code. And I think it might have been Jesse Cox, is like a YouTuber, but he, I think he got an email or a trailer or something that had like highlighted letters and numbers in it, and when you rearranged them, it spelled out Edwards Island.
Oh, weird.
And then they went to a website, and then just different clues and stuff, and it was weird because this was all like in real time, just people who were very, very into this game, and it led them to, I think, Fort Worth, Washington, and essentially I was kind of like a geocaching type thing. They found like a World War II first aid box that had a music box in it with two strips of music that I guess were from the game, and a bunch of letters from Alex.
Oh, weird. Like
from the different realities. So it's kind of cool, like real life alternate reality game. But they played on a lot of stuff like that I think just on a casual playthrough you miss. But a lot of the stations have, like, they'll have music, and then they would have, what's it called? They would have Morse code, And some of the message that it spells out are, and it was kind of sad because I think the implication is that these are from Anna, who is Maggie's friend, slash, I got the feeling like Anna was supposed to be like her girlfriend, or at least someone that maybe she cared about, but maybe since it was like the 1940s, they couldn't be together or something, but I don't know.
Gal pals.
Bosom buddies.
Yep.
But some of the messages that came through are getting scared, losing things, love. One says losing but lug hand, which I don't know if that's maybe just she was supposed to be spelling laughing and it's misspelled. One just says love and. One says still here, cannot move, very cold, love Anna. Which I thought that one was sad. Yeah. And says be sure you have correct time. Another one says, this one's pretty long, let us pray that peace can be now restored to the world.
Sad.
But, because I guess Anna, I don't know if Anna worked with her at the military station with Maggie, but she was helping her research and like try to figure out, because I guess the ghosts were coming through and they were trying to find a way to like defeat them and seal them in. And while doing this, Anna basically ends up the way that Alex does at the end, where she's trapped in the loop. But she never stopped trying to get a hold of Maggie, which, you know, that's what you do when you're best friends. You reach across interdimensional space forever.
Forever, trying to contact them.
Just your best good friend. It was sad, but it was interesting just to learn all that, which you also can find letters, which we didn't find a whole lot of, but a lot of the story you don't really figure out unless it's through the letters. Like, I didn't realize until afterwards that Maggie Adler, the whole reason that the thing exploded was because she heard, like, a weird signal and thought it was some kind of attack, because this is in the middle of World War II, and I guess sent out a signal, and a nearby ship shot a torpedo at the submarine, even though it was a U.S. submarine. I just thought it was friendly fire, but I didn't realize Maggie was the one who gave the signal.
Yeah, and it was an accident, though, right?
Yeah, it was just she got a signal that she didn't recognize, and there was a lot of paranoia during that time, and just, you know, gave the call to that there was an enemy in the area, and they fired on it, and then tried to cover it up because it was friendly fire. And that's the submarine was the Kanaloa. I don't know if we said that, but if you're listening to this, you've already played the game, so you already know.
You already know.
Oxenfree was developed by Night School Studio. And, I don't know. The music and stuff was just really good. It was, done by, Andrew Rohrman, who goes by the name, it's scientific, but with no vowels. I don't know how you sound that out, but it's, like, scientific.
It's an interesting last name.
Rohrman?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was just really interesting. I don't know if they've done any games since this one, because it just came out last year.
Yeah, it's pretty new.
I was trying to look up, because I honestly had forgotten what Ollie Ollie Oxenfree even means.
Doesn't it mean everything's clear?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be kind of like if you're playing a game of like hide and seek or something like that, and you give up, it's sort of supposed to be like, you can come out and I'm not gonna grab you, like game's over.
Yeah.
And I guess one thing I was looking at said that it came from a German saying that's like alle alle Oxenfree, which I'm sorry if I'm butchering that, I don't speak German, which roughly translates to everyone is free. It was interesting. I like how they kind of briefly mention it in the middle, and I kind of forgot about it until I was watching a playthrough after just to see if they did anything different than we did. And they did. Just a good game. Like, it was like, I feel like I probably would have been more scared if I'd played it like at night, because it doesn't have a lot of like jump scare stuff, but the music, like the tonal stuff is definitely very eerie, and the ghosts and just the general idea of it, like the whole being trapped and not being able to escape, is pretty fucking scary.
Yeah.
But I would definitely recommend people play it, like, since it is like not first person stuff like that. I think you can be scared, but I don't know if it'll give people like nightmares. So if you are normally not into scary games, I think that this would probably be a good kind of compromise, because the game is not difficult to play and it's kind of scary, just like the idea of it, but I don't know, like it's not gory or anything like that.
Although, if you don't like scary games or scary movies or anything, I don't know why you're listening to this.
Because they love us.
Well, I guess they're friends, but strangers, I can't imagine why they'd be listening to this if they don't like scary things.
What was I gonna say? But I really liked it. I'm glad I finally played it, because I've been thinking about it, and the only thing is just because it is kind of short, but it's still like $20 on the PS4. I kept hoping it would maybe go on sale. I have weird thoughts about like spending $20 on something that's only gonna take me 6 hours to beat.
Yeah, but it's an indie studio, so I mean...
Mm-hmm. It's better than paying $60 for a game.
This is very true.
And it was just really good. I'm thinking about either like downloading the soundtrack, because it's just really good. Even if you don't want to play the game, like it's just nice to listen to. Kind of cool, like study brain chilling music, minus the ones that are scary.
Yeah.
A lot of them are just kind of like good, like walking through the screen video. And the ocean, there's one that's called like, I think it's called like Beach 7 a.m. It's like the closing one. That one's choice.
It's very good.
Yes, it's nice.
It's very, very good.
Do you have any closing thoughts on Oxenfree?
Really liked it. Thought it was very, like, it was different. The ghosts weren't what I expected, but I thought it was really interesting.
What did you think it was going to be at first? Did you think it was going to be ghosts or like aliens or Satan?
I don't know. I thought it was just gonna be like weird ghosts and kind of creepy things happening, but it turned into something far more insidious, honestly. Since they wanted to like trap them there essentially and take their bodies. But really liked it, and I thought it was different. And I at first I had the same feelings where I was like, oh, I don't like how far like out it zoomed, but a lot of the backgrounds are so beautiful because they kind of look like thick gouache almost, because they're not watercolor by any means because they're opaque, but I would say like maybe gouache, or it's obviously digital, but like it looks gouache like, but
looks beautiful.
And then the characters are cute. Yeah, it's cute, and I like that they showed the characters like up close in snapshots and stuff, because that gave you a better idea of what they look like without having to see them constantly like up close. But yeah, I don't know, overall I liked it. I meant to ask you, what were your favorite parts?
I really liked the music a lot. That's the part, like, today I've been listening to the music, and that's probably the most, like, I've been interacting with it afterwards. But I really liked looking for all of, like, the little clues. The whole time I was just like, gotta find rocks. Gotta find these rock piles. I just want to find more spooky clues. Because some of them, like, I didn't really understand how they all kind of tied together. And then every now and then they would kind of jump out and be different. Because sometimes it was just a message about, like, if you reach out to the bishop and tell him what you're worried about, he will deal with it. And I'm like, what does that mean? And then you jump to other ones and it's like, this island was built on centuries of slaughter, and soon you will be a part of that, Alex. And I'm just like, oh god.
Yeah, those were really creepy when they would like directly talk to you.
Yeah, because they didn't always do that. And I also kind of got caught up, like some of the characters I feel like I didn't really get a chance to get super attached to, but there's a part where they make you think Clarissa's dead, where she like falls out a window. And
that felt really bad.
Yeah, I felt super guilty. Like, even though I didn't really like her, I still was like, I don't want her to die. And then there's a part where you think Ren is dead, which I was upset about. That
was very rough.
Yeah, but the way that it's played out in the game, I feel like Alex never believed it was true, because she doesn't seem that upset. She seemed way more upset about Clarissa dying than her best friend.
Yeah.
So that part I was kind of confused by, because I was like, is this real? Like, I know we've been dealing with, like, temporal shifts and time loops and stuff like that, and shifting realities, but I feel like even if there was a possibility I was stuck in a reality where Becca fell off a bridge, I would be pretty messed up.
Yeah. I mean, I guess at that point Clarissa had already like killed herself and then come back, so I feel like if Ren had died first, I think we would have seen her spiral a lot more, which is probably why they were like, let's put that later, because otherwise I don't know how you would like keep hold of yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
watching someone you don't like that much but you still don't want to die is traumatizing and horrible, But watching your best friend die, I feel like, is a whole other level that you don't really recover from.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good, and I think people should play it.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked a whole lot of other stuff about it, but I would say that was probably my two things I could, like, actively pick out and be like, this is why it's better than just your regular old side-scrolling indie game.
Yep.
Yep.
I think that about does it for us.
Feels weird, you know. I feel like we should talk for 40 more minutes about...
No.
Let's do a...
No. No.
We'll never do another synopsis on a movie again because it went so long, and I'm so sorry for anyone who stuck through the whole thing. I'm so proud of you.
You're a goddamn hero. I don't understand it, but
I chopped like 25 minutes from that last one. Lord. I tried so hard. Almost as long as the actual movie.
Yep. If we ever do a synopsis again, it has to be under 10 minutes. That's the new rule.
Yeah.
So
I think that's what a synopsis actually is. I think what we just did was a retelling of the entire movie.
Yep.
In our own words.
Pretty much. With analysis.
Yes.
Oops.
So I guess that's gonna do it for us. Do you have any plugs or anything that you want to put in before we head out?
If you like science fiction or Mass Effect, you should listen to my other podcast that I do with my other best friend, Cass. It's called Embrace Eternity, where we talk about video games and Mass Effect and sci-fi and just good stuff. Lots of stuff. We talk... Oh, right now we're doing synopsis. Well, not synopsis, but analysis of...
Don't say that word on this podcast.
I'm sorry. We do analysis of the Game of Thrones episodes that are coming out this season. And it's been pretty fun, but...
It's very good.
Thanks.
It's choice. That's my new saying now. It's choice.
It's hella choice.
Hella choice.
God, I want to die. And then if you like Mass Effect and sci-fi, God, all I do is sci-fi stuff.
Was that the beginning of your last plug?
Yes. Okay.
So
if you
I'm
also
in a time
like
loop.
that,
I'm in a time loop.
You're in a time loop. So if you like that, then you might like this as well. If you like D&D, Taylor is also in this. I'm real behind on it, but I'm working on it.
It's RPG Friends Club.
It's RPG Friends Club.
We're just a bunch of nerdy friends, and we sit around and we play tabletop RPGs, and ours is Mass Effect based, and Ryan endures us as our DM.
Yep, pretty much. So there's that.
But it's fun, and it's goofy, and we love it, and you'll love it too.
It's funny. I mean, even if you don't know really what Mass Effect is, just imagine they're all aliens. Like, look up the races on Wikipedia. You'll be fine.
Play the entire trilogy.
Or that.
It'll only take you like a month.
You definitely won't cry yourself to sleep for like 3 years afterwards. It'll be fine. But that's it. Do you have anything to plug, Taylor?
Home Depot.
Cool.
I've been spending a lot of time there. About to spend some more time there, because right before I started recording, I got a letter from the Homeowners Association to fix a hole in my fence. So, I get to go buy a fence post.
Why are they so annoying?
I don't know. I get it, but sometimes I just see other people's houses, and I'm like, did they also get a letter?
How many letters has that house gotten? Because I feel like it's been like that for a while, so they must either be getting fined and don't care, or they just really are putting the hammer to the nail with y'all.
I don't want other people to get judged. I just feel very judged. I pay my bills. Get off my case, Tom Nook.
Yeah. Tom Nook.
But, so yeah, Home Depot's been getting a lot of my money lately. So, I love it. I'm so sweaty all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's summer.
It is summer. But, yeah, I guess for, like, actual plugs, Becca's already gotten all of the good podcasts, but there's other good podcasts. The Taz finale was this week, and I don't know what to do with myself, but if you haven't ever listened to it, you should listen to The Adventure Zone. It's all out there now.
Yep.
So you can listen to all of it without having to wait 2 weeks between episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just very, very good. If you like D&D tabletop stuff.
Or fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Humor. Fun.
But it's also got kind of like, it's fantasy, but I feel like it's sort of like Final Fantasy style fantasy, where like there's also kind of like cool...
Elevators.
There's elevators.
What's his name? Mr. Upsy and his lifting?
Upsy, your lifting friend.
That's it. Upsy, your lifting friend.
He's disgusting.
I love him.
He's an elevator with like actual innards. It's horrifying.
He likes it when you get in his tummy.
Oh, God.
Anyways, you should listen to it. It's good. You should just listen to all of the podcasts that we just mentioned, and also this one.
If you like the Adventure Zone, Griffin, who's the DM for that one, is putting all of the music up on Bandcamp. There's already a couple of them, but he's putting the ones from the last couple arcs up soon. And at least when I bought them, it was a pay what you can sort of thing, which is nice. But for the rest of the month of August, he's donating all the proceeds from that to the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Ooh.
Last month when I bought the albums that were already out, he was donating them to the Trans Law Center. So it just feels good. So if you've been putting off buying them, or if you just haven't listened to them yet and you're just starting and you realize you can't live without them, it's just a nice way to donate.
That's when I bought mine.
Yeah. Becca good. Griffin good. Music
good.
Music good. On that very complicated idea of music good, I think we're gonna call it.
Yeah. Stay hella spooky.
Stay hella spooky.
Shaka bra, bye.
Oh, God. Oh, God.